Hi everyone. It appears that many ex-witnesses, when they leave the watchtower, question more than just the org, governing body, the watchtower itself, but they even question whether or not truth, or God, can be found apart from the watchtower. All of us have experiences that are different in our life. We also had different reasons for being in the watchtower and for leaving the watchtower. And I think that explains why we all land different places upon leaving. I wanted to discuss with you C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity, which I introduced a week or so ago. He came from a Christian family, but in childhood he might have believed in God, but he soon became an atheist, but then he converted back to Christianity. So this is really his explanation of how he did that journey, what happened to make him change his mind. He divides the book into 4 sections. The first section is right and wrong as a clue to the meaning of the universe. The second section is what Christians believe. Third, Christian behavior. And fourth, beyond personality, or first steps in the doctrine of the Trinity. So today we're going to be looking at the first section here, right and wrong as a clue to the meaning of the universe. And he's speaking about the law of human nature. So we will get right into what he says. The law or rule about right and wrong used to be called the law of nature. Nowadays, when we talk of the laws of nature, we usually mean things like gravitation or heredity or the laws of chemistry. But when the older thinkers called the law of right and wrong the law of nature, they really meant the law of human nature. The idea was that just as all bodies are governed by the law of gravitation and organisms by biological laws, so the creature called man also had his law. With this great difference, that a body could not choose whether it obeyed the law of gravitation or not, but a man could choose either to obey the law of human nature or to disobey it. So if we believe in the law of human nature, he asks this question: if we do not believe in decent behavior, why should we be so anxious to make excuses for not having behaved decently? The truth is, we believe in decency so much, we feel the rule of law pressing on us so that we cannot bear to face the fact that we are breaking it, and consequently we try to shift the responsibility. For you notice that it is only for our bad behavior that we find all these explanations. It is only our bad temper that we put down to being tired or worried or hungry. We put our good temper down to ourselves. These, then, are the 2 points I wanted to make. First, that human beings all over the earth have this curious idea that they ought to behave in a certain way and cannot really get rid of it. Secondly, that they do not in fact behave in that way. They know the law of nature, they break it. These 2 facts are the foundation of all clear thinking about ourselves and the universe we live in. So some might say that this law really can be explained by instinct. So he does discuss this as well. We all know what it feels like to be prompted by instinct, by mother love, or sexual instinct, or the instinct for food. It means that you feel a strong want or desire to act in a certain way. And of course, we sometimes do feel just that sort of desire to help another person. And no doubt that desire is due to the herd instinct. But feeling a desire to help is quite different from feeling that you ought to help, whether you want to or not. Supposing you hear a cry for help from a man in danger, you will probably feel two desires. One, a desire to give help due to your herd instinct, and the other, a desire to keep out of danger due to the instinct for self-preservation. But you will find inside you, in addition to these two impulses, a third thing which tells you that you ought to follow the impulse to help and suppress the impulse to run away. Now, this thing that judges between two instincts, that decides which should be encouraged, cannot itself be either of them. You might as well say the sheet of music which tells you at a given moment to play one note on the piano and not another is itself one of the notes on the keyboard. The moral law tells us the tune we have to play. Our instincts are merely the keys. So how do we explain that struggle that goes on inside us when we have to decide what to do? And why do we think there's one that's the one we should go by? I would say Paul, the Apostle Paul, has a very good description of that inner struggle that goes on that I can certainly relate to. Romans 7, verses 15 to the end of the chapter. He says, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. As it is no longer I myself who do it, but it is sin living in me. I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For what I do is not the good I want to do. No, the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. Now if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. So I find this law at work. When I want to do good, evil is right there with me. For in my inner being I delight in God's law. But I see another law at work in the members of my body, waging war against the law of my mind and making me prisoner of the law of sin at work within my members. What a wretched man I am! Who will rescue me from this body of death? Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, I myself in my mind am a slave to God's law, but in the sinful nature a slave to the law of sin. So I thought Paul here describes well that inner struggle that goes on. Now Paul is a religious man, so the struggle he finds within himself is the law of God that he was familiar with, and his inability to carry through that he would oftentimes do what he didn't want to do. I think this is just as applicable to non-religious people, because all people have a standard by which they live and find that they're unable to live up to the standard that they've placed before themselves. So why do we have this struggle? What explains it? That's what we will be discussing the next time. I'm going to link 2 videos. No, 1 video. Probably 2, but one that I know. Which is, Can Atheism Answer Basic Questions? Was a video that David did. So I will link that. And then the next time we will talk about how do we explain this law of human nature.